The video game industry moves fast, but we move faster. This is the Turbo Button Show with Darien and Jacob.
Hello guys and welcome to the Turbo Button Show for March 16th, 2017.
I'm not interrupting each day.
Thanks. I needed that.
DuckTales! Woo!
No,
Yes.
Jacob. No.
Yes.
You just made everybody cringe.
Yep.
Just
Hopefully. That's why I'm here.
if you're gonna do that, I can do this show by myself. We need no cringe.
Darkwing Duck!
And we need good opinions, because yours isn't really that great, Jacob.
Your opinions are the ones that are bad, man.
No, not.
So, we're talking about DuckTales, right?
Kind of.
And Darkwing Duck. Only 90s kids will remember this?
90s kids are people born in 1985 to 92.
Okay. That's quite specific of an age range.
Because you have to remember it. You have to remember the 90s to be a 90s kid. You can't be born in 97 and remember your first moment in being...
I was born in 96, and I remember quite a bit from the 90s.
Like
DuckTales! Woo!
No, Jacob, you can't remember 1999 and call yourself a 90s kid.
Anyways, Darien's going off on a weird tangent. We're talking about the Disney afternoon. We're just going to sit down and watch some classic Disney cartoons together that Darien says he's never watched.
I actually don't like Disney. I don't like Disney's vibe. I really don't.
You suck. So if you don't know, Disney Afternoon was a block of television on the Disney Channel in the 90s. Ran after school, hence why it was Disney Afternoon. And you had a whole bunch of really, really good cartoons get their start on it. And
They didn't catch my attention.
back in the day, Capcom released a whole bunch of tie-in games for it.
In the late 80s, early 90s.
And unlike, a lot of modern day cash-in games, these were good.
Yeah, I mean, they're good games, but I don't really care for the shows, so I don't really like the games, per se. I don't care.
But why does that matter? Because
Capcom is releasing a game or
compilation,
the Disney Afternoon Collection.
First of all, really cool that they're actually able to get Disney to license it and the Disney Afternoon name.
It's 6 games.
6 games.
Yeah.
And they're all games based off of shows that ran on the Disney Afternoon. You have DuckTales. DuckTales. Woo! Right?
Shut up, Jake.
No. DuckTales 2. Darkwing Duck, which is a DuckTales spinoff. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2. And Tailspin. So before we get into, details on that, I'd just like to say, holy cow, that lineup. Because the games themselves, some of those are really pricey. A lot of them were released really late into the NES's life, so they didn't sell very well and are now really big collector's items. DuckTales 2 is somewhere around $200 right now for the cartridge. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2 is like $150. Darkwing Duck's like $50. I have no idea on Tailspin. It's probably not that much. And the first DuckTales is still like $20, so I mean, that's over $400 in value.
I guess. I mean, I wouldn't value the games for gameplay, but they're good NES titles. I mean, they're solidly made. I believe they're in the same game engine that Capcom used for Mega Man,
if not very similar.
Yeah, the NES really doesn't have that much complex programming you could really do for the thing. But okay, these are NES titles, and what console do you think that they'd be released on? A Nintendo one.
Except no.
It is released on PS. It's going to release on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Which, okay, where's a Nintendo console? We don't have the Nintendo 3DS.
Darien's really butthurt about this.
Or the Switch.
He spent like 15 minutes before we started arguing with me about this.
No, this is my thing. You have to listen to me, Jacob, and you have to think about this. PlayStation 4 people are people who are anime weeaboos.
No.
They want their anime weeaboo games.
Most of them are not.
Xbox One is people who want their violent, blood-filled games that make them drink Mountain Dew and eat Doritos. And PC is just PC Master Race. And they most likely own a Nintendo console. Because, those two things go hand in hand because most PC players don't care if they have a PS4 or Xbox.
I'm
looking
cringing.
at you, Jacob.
I'm cringing very hard.
Cringe all you want, but this is the truth.
Darien's really mad because it's not on his precious Whittle Switch.
I don't want the game. I see it as a big misstep.
I don't, and here's why. Releasing it on the Switch is not really a good business option right now. That's not to say they won't release it in the future on the Switch, but the Switch has a maximum install base of like 1.5 million systems.
But do you think that it'll get people to buy the Switch?
No.
I know some people that are diehard 90s kids.
And they'll just play it on
97,
PS4.
98 that claim to be 90s kids, but they see this game and they say, oh my God, I want this. They look and they see, oh, it's on a PS4. What games are on PS4? That doesn't interest me.
Most of them already have a PS4. And seriously, who out there doesn't have either a PS4, an Xbox One, or any sort of laptop lying around? Do you know how many computers are going to be able to run this compilation? All of them.
This is one of those things that I see for a casual market because they're NES games with a rewind function. That just already tells you this game is directed towards children.
No.
But it's going to capture the adults of today that have watched these shows.
Okay, Darien, you're a big fan of Duke Nukem, right? You own Duke Nukem 3D on your Vita, right?
Yeah.
And you've played that quite a bit. That has a rewind feature. What's wrong with the rewind features?
I don't use it.
Sometimes games that were older have some really, really BS deaths in them. It happens, or maybe you just really don't feel like spending another 10 minutes going back through the same level, so just rewind a few seconds. I think it's a really great way to breathe some new life into old games, and that's not the only enhancement they're getting. They're getting, full 1080p support, widescreen support, 60 FPS for sure on everything, the option to turn off sprite flicker, all that good stuff. Granted, you can get basically all of that already with an emulator.
But the thing is, why are these people on Xbox One, PS4, and PC going to care?
Because they like these games, or they like the cartoons they're from, or because they just like retro games.
I'm just confused why this at least didn't make it to the 3DS.
I can understand that, but maybe it's just because they only wanted to work on one rendering engine for the game, because the 3DS is drastically different from the others. All the others can render at 1080p, right?
The thing is, it's Capcom, and Capcom did the Mega Man X or Mega Man Legacy Collection, and they could just use the same thing because I believe that they just could implement a couple more features, and if they want to make it on parity with the PS4 and Xbox One version or the PC. Now, the thing is the Legacy Collection came out on all the same platforms and the 3DS, so I don't see why they can't just do it.
I have no idea. Maybe they're just scared because, the 3DS is kind of on its way out, but the 3DS makes a lot more sense to release it on right now than the Switch, to me.
I also see it as a way that maybe Nintendo has their hand in this, putting up their hand and saying, no, don't do this because we could potentially release these on the Virtual Console and you could make $5 on each title and you could make, let's see, 5 times 6 is 30. You could make $10 more per copy.
You just gave away the price, man. We're going to go into a separate segment about that, yo.
This is
so. How much is the full MSRP of the collection?
$20.
$20. That's reasonable. That honestly, really, I've always been really soft on emulation and pirating old retro games. We've done episodes on that before on Gaming Buzz, and talked about that. But really, if developers want to encourage people to pay for their games legally and go through the right channels, that's the way to do it. Release them cheap, right?
Yep. And
in compilations that are convenient and easy to get. Think about it. $20 for 6 games. That's math. Six. No, that's doing math. Yeah, that's $3.33 per game. That's a good deal.
We need to see more compilations anyway, but not of like the same series. Like I'd like to see like those random Sega Genesis compilations again, even though I don't really like the Genesis that much. Or
They were great deals.
We need to see Super Nintendo compilations. I mean, we got the NES Classic, but
Yeah,
that's a joke.
We'll just get a Super Nintendo Classic.
And an N64 Classic, like everybody wants.
And a Wii U Classic.
I don't see any of these happening because, you know, they're collector's items. And
I could see the Super Nintendo one happening.
yeah, but I don't see an N64 one.
No, that's a little too far.
Even though the chips inside of them could probably handle it, they just probably wouldn't want to.
So anything else?
I don't think so. I think this is one of the biggest missteps that Capcom could be doing, not releasing it on a Nintendo console, even though it's an NES title.
I do not think it's a big deal, and I think this is a really good idea of a compilation, and I'm quite impressed by them for making this in the first place. I mean, getting Disney to relicense these games, really clever, and it's a great tie-in because DuckTales is returning this year with a new cartoon. So, hey, tie-in.
I mean, this is just cashing in on nostalgia.
It's a little, yeah. But, you know, unlike so many things that we're nostalgic for, these games were actually, for the most part, really good.
They were, but, I mean, this is kind of the era of 90s kid nostalgia and the false pseudo 90s kids, the ones that were born in 1997 and beyond, 96 and beyond. And, I'm sorry, I have something against people claiming to be 90s kids but don't remember the 90s.
So not the time or place for that, yo. Do you have anything else you want to say?
There's nothing else to say other than just buy this game and convince Capcom they made a mistake.
Or don't buy it if you're not actually interested in it. But you should tell us in the comments below if you are interested and if you're going to buy it. And if you like DuckTales, woo!
Shut up, Jacob. Oh. No.
Yeah. And like this video because only 90 kids can like this video. And subscribe to Gaming Buzz, right?
Sure.
And something to do with a bell?
Yeah, click it.
Click it. Click it. And we're out?
Yeah, we're out.
Bye.
See you guys later.
New episodes and other content can be found on TurboButtonShow.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.